Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. Today's date is Monday, March 9th, 2015. I'm your host, Rob Dew, and here's a look at what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, from prison, anarchist Barrett Brown speaks of his questionable sentence. Then, any questioning of Hillary's past is labeled sexist, and the new age of drones. That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
You pay to be spied on. You're like, well, nothing to hide. Your info can be used against you. The bad people want your info. What is your problem?
Normally, with the Nightly News, we start off with the biggest world earth-shaking news and work our way back to maybe like a local level or different things that we see are issues here in the United States. And this time I wanted to reverse that, and we're actually going to start off here with issues internally, specifically with political correctness and where it's gone. Now, I'm going to get into a lot of racial things here, and so bear with me as I go through a series of articles, and hopefully you will see my point at the end. But I want to start off with an article from the Daily Mail. We don't have room for racists and bigots here. Oklahoma college president calls on the SAE frat brothers to drop out as new video of racist chant emerges. President of the University of Oklahoma has condemned the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity for a racist chant that emerged this weekend and vowed to discipline the students involved, but stopped short of saying they would be expelled from the university. And this was a controversy that started due to a piece of video that's less than 20 seconds long, and it's got a whole bunch of guys on a party bus. I think there's some women in there as well. And this is what they're singing. And we're not going to play the video, but I want to actually tell you what they're singing. As one tuxedo-clad brother gleefully sings, "You can hang him from a tree, but he'll never sign with me. There will never be a N word in SAE," and stands up and waves his hands in front of a cell phone camera, attempting to stop the filming of the shameful song. So obviously despicable, distasteful, grotesque, and yes, you don't want that. And I kind of applaud the university president for taking such drastic action. One thing, however, now by closing down the fraternity house, they've actually put a black man out of a job. So they had alumni are actually attempting to raise money for a black man who's worked as the cook for the fraternity for more than 10 years. Now, by taking that action to close down the fraternity house, he's unwittingly put a black man on the street out of a job. So the cook's name is Howard, and there's a campaign that's raised more than $11,000 toward its goal of $50 to help provide support to him after he lost his job. And now the students are moving out. They have to get out by midnight tonight. You can see photos of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity leaving, being forced to move out of their fraternity house. And I actually applaud what the president is doing. And we're going to go to a report from Jakari Jackson in 1 second, but I want to contrast this with another incident that occurred pretty much the same day. Outrageous college footballers dress in KKK robes as they make parody of Will Smith movie Bad Boys 2. And a group of college footballers have sparked outrage by dressing in Ku Klux Klan robes in a parody of the Will Smith Bad Boys movie. About 20 members of the team at Wheaton College near Chicago, Illinois, performed the skit wearing Klan-style white hoods and carrying Confederate flags. Here's the big difference, though. Here's the big difference. Most of the players involved in this were black. So the university didn't kick them out of the school. They didn't kick them out of their fraternity house, kick them off the football team. Really, all they had to do was apologize for the insensitive stuff. According to the Chicago Tribune, team captain Josh Aldrin, who's African-American, took responsibility for the skit, and a letter to the students admitted, "We made a mistake." He wrote, "As a black male, a team captain, and leader of the group that performed the skit, I should have understood that the KKK and Confederate symbols are not funny in any context." So you have kids going to school, they watch a lot of gun movies, there's violence everywhere on TV, they do this, they get expelled. You have African-American students who see this in a Bad Boys 2 movie and think it's funny and, hey, maybe we should do this as a team-building exercise, and they're absconded by their university. And then at the same time, you have white students on a bus singing a song, their fraternity is closed down, and an African-American loses his job. At the end of the day, is anybody winning or losing in these arguments? Jakari Jackson has more with this report.
This is Jakari Jackson for Infowars.com. You guys have probably seen the clip by now of the racist rant by an OU fraternity from Oklahoma. I would show you the video, but YouTube likes to pick on us and strike us down for posting stuff that's already on YouTube. But we'll put a link in the description below. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I'd like to applaud the president of Oklahoma University, because he came out and he said, we don't appreciate these racist rants. These are the actions of these individuals. We do not support or condone those individuals. And then he went a step further to shut down the fraternity. It seems like the president of a state university is more on the ball than our president of the United States. Because we see President Obama, he says, I don't support this, I don't support that, but then he doesn't really do too much about it. Example, Fast and Furious running guns into Mexico.
Listen to what Holder told a Judiciary Committee hearing on May 3rd this year.
I'm not sure the exact date, but I probably heard about Fast and Furious for the first time over the last few weeks.
Yet internal Justice Department documents show that at least 10 months before that hearing, Holder began receiving frequent memos discussing Fast and Furious. They came from the head of the National Drug Intelligence Center and Assistant Attorney General Lanny Brewer.
Well, I didn't really know too much about this. I don't support this, but I'll give the Justice Department the authorization to investigate themselves and then come up with whatever decision they find necessary. Or he says, I don't support the things that happened in Benghazi, even though we know that Ambassador Stevens was sending his communications to Mrs. Clinton months before he was murdered. Or Lois Lerner at the IRS. Well, you know, I don't know about this. I found out about this stuff on the news. And then Mrs. Lerner goes up into her testimony and she just sticks her nose up in the air and she doesn't have too much to say. So even though the president of the United States doesn't condone these things when he gets up there and speaks, he doesn't do anything to stop them even after the fact. So it seems like to me, Mr. Obama needs to enroll in a course at the University of Oklahoma where he can actually learn some responsibility and leadership skills. You can find more reports on Infowars.com.
So the only reservation I have about this is, what does this mean for free speech? And while I'm not condoning what those men on the party bus said at all, they actually do have a right to say that. They do have a right to be as despicable as they want. At the same time, the university has the right to go after them. But what this is creating a culture of more political correctness. And I'm not saying the racist stuff in particular, but this leads to a culture of everybody looking around to find a way to be divided amongst themselves. Now they've got other students that are protesting the fraternity, even though it's been shut down. And so then they have their right to speak out as well. Everybody should have a right to speak out on their issue. But when we start saying you can't say this, you can't say that, it does bring us into First Amendment issues. And that's what we have to examine. Are we going to let, some people get away with it and some people not because of the color of their skin? So can a black man say racist stuff about white people and not get in trouble? Because, technically white people have never been oppressed at all, unless, of course, you're Irish or Polish or, Lithuanian. I guess those people have been oppressed in certain instances. But that's what we have to look at, the First Amendment implications to this stuff. And then at the end of the day, only one guy is losing his job out of this, and that's the cook for the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity who happens to be African American. So there you go. Now, we have that first, our racism news of the day. And now let's look at Hillary Clinton, because when you speak out against Hillary Clinton, it doesn't matter if you like the fact that she hid her emails and she basically, what looks like, orchestrated a deal for missiles with terrorists and then helped silence the ambassador over in Libya. No, that doesn't matter. If you say anything bad about her, it's sexist. But let's get to the first part of this puzzle. This is from Trey Gowdy, the iconic picture of Hillary on her BlackBerry. We have no emails from that day. There are huge gaps. And here is a video clip of him talking about just that.
If you think to that iconic picture of her on a C-17 flying to Libya in her hand, we have no emails from that day. In fact, we have no emails from that trip. So it's strange credibility to believe that if you're on your way to Libya to discuss Libyan policy, that there's not a single document that's been turned over to Congress. So there are huge gaps. And with respect to the president, it's not up to Secretary Clinton to decide what's a public record and what's not.
But the leftist PC control think media wants to put out the narrative that because you want to see the emails that Hillary Clinton was writing on her BlackBerry as she was going over to Libya or anything else that relates to Benghazi, that you're a sexist and that you're making a big deal out of nothing because only 4 Americans died and we lost a bunch of missiles. So really nothing to see here. In fact, here's the article from prisonplanet.tv, Paul Joseph Watson. Hillary supporters, criticism over email scandal is sexist. And the Daily KOS asserts that Republicans fear having a vagina in control of the White House. And you can read some of the tweets. I have my issues with Hillary Clinton, but GOP efforts to destroy her are uniformly petty, pathetic, and sexist. Stop being so sexist with your double standards and giving a pass to your golden boy, Jeb, which I agree we should not be giving Jeb Bush a pass, but just because you say Hillary's bad doesn't mean Jeb's good. And people don't seem to understand that the left and right are both out there to destroy you. They're not out there to help you. They're out there to enrich themselves and their buddies. And until you get that through your thick skull, you're not going to get anywhere in this world. You're going to be fighting these petty left-right issues all day long. Let's read a couple more of these. This is not the Clintons. She is a person separate from her husband. Stop being sexist. Wait until Hillary Clinton is in charge and the racist, sexist GOP will be even worse. But obviously, someone is concerned about these statements because someone is paid for a polling firm out of Michigan to go in and ask certain specific statements to pollers in Iowa. In fact, here's the article. Team Hillary conducting secret polls to test fallout of email scandal. The Bleeding Heartland blog reports that someone is paying to test a series of negative messages about Hillary Clinton among Iowa Democrats, noting that a Michigan-based polling firm is calling households of likely voters to get their response to unflattering questions about the former First Lady. And let's read some of the sexist statements here. The poll then lists a series of statements about Hillary Clinton and asks the respondent to state whether each statement makes them more or less likely to vote for her. The statements include she was involved in the Whitewater and Travelgate scandals when Bill Clinton was president. Probably nobody remembers that. She only paid women on her staff 72 cents for every dollar earned by men. Sexist. She did not protect diplomats in Benghazi. She was unable to account for billions of dollars spent at the State Department while she was Secretary of State. The Clinton Foundation took $30 million from Middle Eastern governments. Sexist. She allowed Iran's nuclear program to advance when she was Secretary of State. And she supported Obamacare. So if you care about the office of the Secretary of State and its integrity in the world view, then I guess you're sexist if you just want to see the emails that she has. Same with Lois Lerner. She hid her emails and people were being called sexist because they wanted to see them, and then they were destroyed. Oh, but now they're miraculously found. You see how this works? Every time the government wants to hide something, it's because they're doing something bad. It's not because they forgot and they're clueless. Well, unless, of course, I guess if you're President Obama, because when he was asked about this, he had this to say that he was the most transparent administration. He still believes that. So here's those clips.
When did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State?
At the same time, everybody else learned it through news reports. The policy of my administration is to encourage transparency.
Well, you say that you have the most transparent administration ever. You said it again just a couple of weeks ago.
It's true.
How does this square with that?
Well, I think that the fact that she's going to be putting them forward will allow us to make sure that people have the information they need.
So he didn't know. He learned it just when we all learned it, because he's not privy to anything that goes on in his office. He's not aware of what his cabinet is up to. I guess during Benghazi, maybe he wasn't looking at any emails either because he didn't get any from President Clinton because she didn't have any to turn in at that time. Very interesting. Very interesting that he's now looking over my shoulder right now behind me, wondering what I'm thinking. He wants to look at all my emails, but he doesn't want you looking at his. Of course, his are all made public. And Hillary, as soon as she erases the ones that are incriminating, she's going to turn them over to the committees and let them look at them. But wait, we're not done. He also said the same thing about Fast and Furious. This guy doesn't know anything about anything. Here's this clip.
There have been problems. I heard on the news about this story that Fast and Furious, where allegedly guns were being run into Mexico, and ATF knew about it but didn't apprehend those who had sent it. Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has been very clear that he knew nothing about this. We've assigned a IG, Inspector General, to investigate it.
You know what the one thing the president does know? He knows how to vacation. He's already spent $38 million vacationing in his tenure as presidency. Wow. He surely knows how to do that. Knows how to go to Hawaii and golf and, man, take his kids to Africa, having a great time on our dime. But he doesn't know what his own employees are doing at all. But that's okay, because if you say anything about that, you're probably a racist. Yeah. Stay tuned. We're going to be back. We're going to have some drone news. We're going to talk about a door-to-door wellness check that was being conducted by the National Guard in South Carolina, and a look at how Alan Greenspan turned to the dark side. Stay tuned. It's the InfoWars Nightly News, and I'm your host, Rob Dew.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. ancientdefense.com.
The president of the University of Oklahoma has condemned the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity for a racist chant that emerged this weekend and vowed to discipline the students involved, but stopped short of saying they would be expelled from the university. And this was a controversy that started due to a piece of video that's less than 20 seconds long, and it's got a whole bunch of guys on a party bus. I think there's some women in there as well. And this is what they're singing. And we're not going to play the video, but I want to actually tell you what they're singing. As one tuxedo-clad brother gleefully sings, "You can hang him from a tree, but he'll never sign with me. There will never be a N word in SAE." And stands up and waves his hands in front of a cell phone camera, attempting to stop the filming of the shameful song. So obviously despicable, distasteful, grotesque, and yes, you don't want that. And I kind of applaud the university president for taking such drastic action. One thing, however, now by closing down the fraternity house, they've actually put a black man out of a job. So they had alumni are actually attempting to raise money for a black man who's worked as the cook for the fraternity for more than 10 years. Now,
Marcus Barrett Brown speaks of his questionable sentence. Then, any questioning of Hillary's past is labeled sexist and the new age of drones. That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
You pay to be spied on. You're like, well, nothing to hide. Your info can be used against you. The bad people want your info. What is your problem?
normally with the nightly news, we start off with the biggest world earth-shaking news and work our way back to maybe like a local level or different things that we see are issues here in the United States. And this time I wanted to reverse that, and we're actually going to start off here with issues internally, specifically with political correctness and where it's gone. Now, I'm going to get into a lot of racial things here, and so bear with me as I go through a series of articles, and hopefully you will see my point at the end. But I want to start off with an article from the Daily Mail. We don't have room for racists and bigots here. Oklahoma college president calls on the SAE frat brothers to drop out as new video of racist chant emerges. Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. Today's date is Monday, March 9th, 2015. I'm your host, Rob Dew, and here's a look at what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, from prison and